Geico presents Our Town, Season 2, a 30-minute podcast produced by Best Bart Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks. Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now, here's your host, Andy Ockershausen.
This is Our Town. It's Andy Ockershausen. I am delighted with I don't call him a guest. He's too much of a friend and so close to him over the years. A local guy, a prominent fundraiser, extraordinary salesman. I guess you have to be to raise the kind of money that he's used to raising.
Is that fundraiser or fundraiser?
Well, it's both. Okay. Why not have fun when you're raising funds?
Okay, that sounds good.
He is currently the chapter president and CEO of the Alzheimer's Association. I met him at least 3 decades ago. He's going to say longer. But I've known him in the radio business, in the broadcast television business, in the cable business. And Chris Broullire, welcome to Our Town.
Well, thanks, Andy. It's great to be here. It's great.
Yeah, Our Town, it covers Annapolis. It covers Vienna, Virginia.
Right.
We go as far as the Blue Ridge Mountains. We consider everybody in this big, huge bowl of maybe 8 million people as Our Town.
You're humongous.
And half of them live here, which is great, and the other half are going the way out of town. But, Chris, I go back with you so far, but
can I tell you the first time I ever
did not know your background as a local yokel.
Yeah, but can I tell you the first time I ever met you? It was in the lobby right here at WMAL, and I was referred to you by Tom Curo, Lincoln Mercury, and he said...
Oh, I know the name.
He says, Chris, go see my buddy Andy Ockershausen. And I was just desperate for a job, right out of college, trying to get a job anywhere, especially in radio. Go see my buddy Andy Ockershausen, and you spent about 20 seconds in the lobby with me telling me, you got no shot, kid. Good luck. Call Dick Urey. That's so that was my first meeting with Andy, and I thought, thank you so much for...
I probably did you a favor. You don't realize I spent a lot of time wasting your time. You didn't have that time to waste because you were looking for a job.
Yes, I was.
But believe me, I have done that so many times to tell kids or beginners, you got to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
You come to WMAL looking for a job. It's not the bottom.
No, it's not.
I hate to say that.
Well, and at the time, it was at the very top.
Well,
the top of the top.
I did this to Howard Baumstein. I made him so furious. He didn't speak to me for years because he wanted to handle our business. And I said, no, we're doing business with people we love. I'm never going to change. Why do I waste time to watch a presentation? Anyway, we got by it. He's now one of my best friends.
I had to get that in there.
Chris.
Okay.
So you were out of college, but you went to school at the University of Maryland. But before that, you grew up in the greater Washington area.
Born and raised in D.C. I was born at Doctors Hospital,
wow,
which was at 19th and I, which is no longer there. It's an office building now.
We just went by it the other day, and Janice said to me, it's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what's happened to our town?
Yeah, it's changed a bunch, and went to campus school, which is a little 8-room grade school near Providence Hospital.
I know it well.
Went to Gonzaga.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Were you with Stuart long? But Stuart's probably older than you.
Much older. I'm still very young.
But Gonzaga is a great beginning, great Jesuit school.
It is. I had a paddle broken over my backside for misbehaving in Latin once. Father Hocking.
Fraternity?
Father Hocking, it was a fraternity paddle. Yeah. Father Hocking used to paddle the kids who didn't behave in Latin class, and he actually broke the paddle in 3 pieces over my backside.
Well, that's a good Jesuit school then,
yes,
right?
We had good discipline, and I behaved after that.
And your family lived in the city? Was your dad in business here?
He worked for the federal government. It was he was the deputy director of the FSLIC, which is no longer, now it's the FD.
I do remember. That was savings and loan or something, wasn't it?
That's right, and now it's the FDIC. And we lived in University Park.
Wow.
In Prince George's County, and right down the street from Jim Henson, the Muppet guy, just like a block away.
Channel 4.
There you go. And grew up in University Park, and the reason I went to Gonzaga is my father drove down Michigan Avenue every day
to drop you off
to get to his office at the FSLIC, so he just dropped me off.
I find there are a lot of kids that never had that ability to go into town to school that you had.
Right.
That so many young people miss something when they don't have to ride the bus. They don't have to plod to Gonzaga. Go to the old streetcars.
Yeah.
My group all went to Gonzaga on the streetcar.
Right. Well, and I hitchhiked home.
Absolutely.
So I can you imagine doing that today? You just
Our
wouldn't.
friend Jim
you wouldn't-
Cudahy sat right in that side telling about his son. You remember Cudahy?
Yeah, sure.
Well, his son was a Gonzaga,
Okay.
and he's now at St. Joe's up in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
But his son had to ride the bus.
Yeah.
But it straightened him out. It was a great lesson in to sit and learn in our town to ride the bus
Well,
and the people.
Amen. And you learn to be self-reliant if you're on the bus or if you're hitchhiking home. So
You know how to handle it.
somehow I got home every day.
Right. That's what his boy was hitchhiking. He lived way out in the suburbs. But Chris, now how did the Curo enter your life? Because he entered my life in maybe the 6th grade. I don't think we went to a place called Sherwood Playground. That's where I met Tommy Curo when we were both probably 10 years old.
My brother Mark, God rest his soul, dated Nan Curo starting when he was 16. And they got married,
Right.
And they have 3 children, and he did pass away from brain cancer.
I knew that.
But that's how I know Tom, is that my brother used to work at his dealership
In Laurel.
in Laurel.
I visited him
on
in
Route
Laurel.
1, yeah.
I know it quite well.
Yeah.
And you're the other broiler that worked for us at Comcast Sportsnet. Bridget now has children, I understand.
She has a baby, a beautiful child, and she's been married for a while and got a beautiful child. And
Well, all these things are important because these people are a part of our town. The Broilers were very important, and I know Tommy was, and he was a Lincoln dealer.
yes,
And he grew up in H Street Northeast. I said,
Yes.
he must have robbed somebody to get to be a Lincoln dealer. He must have stolen that dealership.
well, he was a great salesman.
Oh,
he was a
wonderful
terrific
man.
salesman, became a great sales manager, and then Ford gave him a store in Laurel, and he made it a huge success.
Well, of course, he was a special guy.
Yeah.
Any guy that grew up on H Street in the pool room,
Yeah.
that's where they all hung out, And
Right.
Tommy and Henry Sachs and the group. But how in the world you get into the broadcast business with nothing from the automobile? You never went to work for the dealership.
Right.
Your
Right.
dad was never.
Right.
He tried to hire you.
No. I went to the University of Texas at Austin for 4 years, and then came back and graduated from College Park after my father died.
Austin is in the news again because about the tower. There's the anniversary of the tower shooting.
Right. That was before me, so I was
Oh, I'm
not.
sure it
I was
was.
not there during that time. But I got to work for the campus radio station at the University of Texas, and I would stay up all night trying to do my own production. And I had an air shift, and I just loved it. So when I got back to the University of Maryland, I got a degree in radio, TV, and film from College Park, graduated from College Park, worked at the campus radio station, and that's where I met my wife.
Wow.
So
She was at the radio business too?
She-
A lot of people have gone through that station over the years.
Yeah, WMUC, yeah.
Remember that,
And it was just in an old shack where the business building is right now. And so I was a Boss Rock jock, and I did a Monday air shift from 3 to 6. And this was when Led Zeppelin, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, that was current. Bad Company, that was current music. So I didn't notice this girl across the glass did the news on the top of the hour. And I would say, and here's Ann Russell with the news. And then Ann would give the news, whatever was going on campus or whatever riot or something that we were covering, or whoever was streaking across the Maryland. Probably my brother was streaking across the Maryland campus. But
The streaking, boy, that was a time period, wasn't it?
it
The
dawned
streakers.
as well. My other brother Michael was. Whoops, that is. I guess he's busted now. I never did it. I never did it myself, but.
Look,
But he was
coming
very-
up on the Academy Awards, I remember the first one I saw live TV. The guy posed right in the middle of the award ceremony. 80 million people or something.
So I met Ann because she was across the glass, and then it finally dawned on me after about 3 or 4 months. I said, she's kind of cute. So what's up with that? So we started the semester in September, and March the 3rd was our first date. So it took
Wow.
me a while.
You did.
I was kind of slow.
Slow learner, too.
Slow learner, slow in everything.
You were so learner to get behind the microphone. As I tell everybody, I was advised by my friend Jim Gibbon, don't get into sports, don't be an announcer, get
Right.
into sales.
Right.
Because that's where the money and the life is.
Right, and that worked for you.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
The greatest advice I ever
just
got.
a little
I'm telling
bit.
you that. But Chris, and then you came from Texas, of course, but this is not, University of Maryland was great, but that was a learning experience.
Right.
But you got into the broadcast business where the money was.
Yeah, on the sales side.
Right.
Well, I wanted to be a television producer, and I just couldn't. I interviewed at Channel 7 in the mailroom.
I didn't turn you down.
Anything. I would have done anything to work for a TV station. And
did you try them all?
No such jobs. I did, and then finally, I got the word that Chris, you ought to be in sales. So I interviewed with Pierre Eaton at WINX.
Golly, that name conjures up memories of
100 years ago. And I interviewed on a Friday afternoon, and of course he had this deep voice, and he would talk like this. So
a radio guy.
I had a very short interview on a Friday afternoon. He says, "When can you start?" So I started Monday, the next day, and I was a salesman and
with Winks.
With Winks,
WINX.
Right.
AM station.
Yes, 1,000-watt daytime.
Right.
And what was cool is that everybody did everything there. So the chief engineer would be on the air on Sunday mornings, just because that was part of his deal. He was the chief engineer.
We all had to make a living.
We had a guy that would live at the transmitter site because he didn't have a home, and he wouldn't shower during the winter, but then during the summer he'd use the garden hose and take a shower. So and then just to spite Pierre, the chief engineer who was doing his morning show on Sunday would promo Monday through Friday, and he would say, "Be sure to listen to fill in the announcer's name every Monday through Friday." He just read it as is. Fill in the announcer. Didn't. He says, if you wanted me to read it, you should have put the name. So he just said, "Fill in the announcer's name every Monday through Friday." So that's the kind of station it was.
Well, we
fun.
We had a station like that. We used to run the radio from our transmitter site on Green Tree Road. All the talent was out there, and all the sales and everything was in there. We got out of that and became a real thing. But we had a chief engineer a transmitter engineer that was working daytime, and he was one day outside washing his car when the FCC commissioner came by to check all the parameters on the transmitter. And he said, "I'm here from the FCC to check it out." And he said, "Go ahead, help yourself. We don't ever lock the door." That was not smart. The commission find us all kinds of problems.
Not a good idea.
And we kept the engineer. He was a good guy, but he was trying to be helpful to the FCC. Right. So here you go at Winks.
Right.
Now Winks is a long way from the powerhouse stations you went to.
It was a place. It was a place to start.
But you learned.
I learned. I learned how to handle rejection.
Right.
Because I got a lot of no's. And
sales, that's what it's all about.
So if you just keep going.
But you didn't give up.
I didn't give up. So I was there for a year and a half.
That prepared you for charity work, but go ahead.
And so I outlasted all the other salespeople that started there, so then after that I got a job at WTOP, and that was the beginning of. I mean, that was a real station.
Oh my God, bro!
That was big time. That's when the Bullets were in the playoffs.
This is Andy Ockershouse, and I'm talking to Chris Broullire, and we're going to take a break here, Chris, because I want to hear the rest of the story.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to Our Town.
This is Our Town, Andy Ockershausen, with a wonderful conversation with a wonderful guest. He's not really a guest. He's part of the atmosphere. It's Chris Broullire. So Chris is at Winks, starts up going to WTOP, a powerhouse radio station. I go back so far with them when they were downtown in the Earl building, which doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
The Earl Theater and all that.
Right.
But
this was at Broadcast House next to Channel 9.
Oh, they had moved to that to Broadcast House.
Right.
They call it Cast.
Right.
It wasn't broadcast, it was broadcast. They were a little more important than WML in the days. But I had a call from the general manager of the station one day and said, "You might be one to know, we carrying University of Maryland football with a deal,
Okay.
and we're giving it up." we don't want any live sports. We're going to all news 24/7.
Right.
And you can't have all news and interrupt it with a football.
Right.
So I called Bill Kobe at Maryland. I said, we'll take the games. We had them before and lost them, but
Right.
they did us a great favor. So how in the world do you get, with all this ability, you get then to an FM station? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I went from WTOP to WASH. Sue Dalton hired me at WASH.
Sue. Sweet
And-
Sue.
Yeah.
Sioux City Sue. You know, she worked for ABC on the West Coast. She worked for KABC Radio.
Okay.
With all my friends in the
Okay.
business.
Yeah, so she gave me my chance, and I was at WASH in its, I would call, glory days, And
Oh, my God.
it
Power.
was- it was
Eddie
like
was
the-
doing the morning show?
Eddie Galler was doing the morning show. It's so nice to know so many nice people.
Oh, my God.
And then he'd do the time check. He'd say, it's 8:10. That's 10 minutes after. That's 8:10, and that's 8 minutes after 10. And people go, what?
We were just talking about him doing the commercial for the popovers.
Normandy Farms.
Oh,
He'd
he
do
was,
Normandy Farms.
he was
right?
fabulous.
And how about was it Trattoria? What was it? Don't forget to tip. Don't
Al-
Gus.
Ad-
Don't forget to.
Adelphio's
Yeah.
Trattoria?
Don't forget to tip Gus the waiter.
But
He made
what a
it.
great, amazing talent. You
Yeah.
know, Willard Scott and Eddie Walker called him Eddie Galloper, and they would do a takeoff on him. Eddie Walker was a great mimic. I don't know whether you knew that. He was fabulous.
He is so funny.
What a great talent.
And he would do live restaurant commercials and make you salivate at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, really, really good salesman. I mean, I thought he was example, and I tell Janice that all the time. I used to tell our guys, you're not here to read a commercial.
Right.
You're here to sell a product.
Right. Right.
If you want to know something, listen to Eddie Galloper,
Yeah.
sell some cheap-ass restaurant. But he would
He
do it
was
with
great.
flair.
Yeah.
And great.
Absolutely.
And he kept coming back. So here you are then at that's a powerhouse station with the Daltons. Incidentally, the Daltons, I think one of them died. One of them passed away.
Bill
did.
has
We
passed
saw them
away.
in Florida 3 or 4 years ago. Had
Yeah.
a great time.
I think she still lives in Naples.
I think Sue was Sue Torn or something like that. That's where I knew her at ABC.
Great lady.
So now you're in the broadcast business, and then the first time I run into you again, you're in the cable business.
Yeah. Went to Comcast Cable, Comcast Spotlight.
But you went first to Malloy, didn't you, before that?
Well, that was at WGMS. So
Yeah.
she hired me, Catherine Malloy hired me in 1994 to be the general sales manager at WGMS when it was classical at
Right.
103.5.
Well, she had just gotten that job.
She was fairly new as a general manager, I think, yeah.
No question.
So I was there for 6 years, and when we started, the revenue was $6 million a year, and after 6 years, it was $12 million
Oh,
a
I
year.
think it was an incredible
So-
run. You know how Catherine got that job?
I don't.
They wanted to hire me.
Okay.
I said, I can't do classical music. I never listened to the station.
But you're a
It's
classy
terrible.
guy.
But I said, I got a candidate for you. True story.
Okay.
And they interviewed
And
Catherine.
she used to work for you at
Absolutely,
WMA.
right
She was-
here.
Right.
Very
so that's
dear
how you know
friends
her.
of ours. And Catherine was sitting right here, knew the whole story. But she was the easiest hire they ever made. She took that station, boom,
Yeah.
which I knew she would do.
Oh, she's a great lady and a great leader.
Oh, my
and
God.
people love working
That's
for
what it's
her.
all about. That's
Yeah.
what she's done
Yeah.
for her charity.
That's right.
And
at
that's
Goodwill.
what you've done for your charity. But, Chris, why? And then you were so successful making a lot of dough at Comcast, winning a lot of awards.
Yeah, we did.
Why would you leave that?
I just when Bennett Zier came back to Clear Channel, he hired me at DC 101. So my last job in radio was general sales manager at DC 101 and Elliot in the morning. And I don't know, when you just get radio in the blood, and you just
It's true.
you love the people.
Look at us.
You especially love the people in radio, and you love
Great.
the energy and the excitement. So I was general sales manager at DC 101, and then I got
Big powerhouse in our town.
Yeah.
Absolute powerhouse.
yeah Elliot in the morning, and
what was the man's name that really put that station on the map? We just saw his son's working here now, Johnny.
Labar.
Not the bar.
Scott Labar's here, but the old man's in Florida.
Okay.
I worked a lot with him over the years growing up, and as a matter of fact, I had to go to him to hire the grease man. We were
Okay.
doing a show on Channel 50,
Okay.
and the grease man wouldn't accept it. I had to go to his boss to get him hired, and he did. He made a deal with us, and we did a Redskin show with the grease
Okay.
man. It was
He
so
is
much
so
fun.
funny. Grease Man is so funny.
Oh my God, what amazing talent. In fact, he went overboard, unfortunately. So here you are at WGMS, making a lot of dough, and then you get into the cable television business.
Right. So into Comcast, and then was there for a while. And then, like I say, Bennett called me and hired me at DC 101. So I was there for about a year and a half, and then I got the radio business has changed a lot.
Wow. That's putting it mildly.
And especially at that time. And so when I got a call from Gene Oates, who was
Love Jeannie.
Was my boss at WPGC. So we skipped over a couple of stations. I've been to more stations than an Amtrak locomotive. But,
let me tell you something. You couldn't keep a job, Chris. You were making so much money, they found a way to get rid of you.
Usually it was up every time. But so Gene Oates was leaving the MS Society. She had been there for 12 years, National MS Society, multiple sclerosis. And she says,
God.
I'm going to retire. Are you interested? So I became chapter president of the MS Society, and I was there for 8 years.
You left then the broadcast, the cable business.
Yeah, left DC 101 to go
you left the cable and went back. I don't know why you would ever leave the cable.
I can't keep it straight either.
You were getting awards. I know you were doing so well with Spotlight, and you were #1 and cleaning. I know you were cleaning up because we knew what was going on. Spotlight was killing us for a while in games and rates. So we've been talking to Chris, and I'm going to be back with you, Chris, and talk about your new life and number of lives. This is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town.
Are you still promising yourself or your spouse to get your will updated and a good basic estate plan in place? Are you finally ready to make sure you don't leave a mess behind for your family to clean up? Give me just 2 hours and I'll show you how. I'm attorney Mike Collins, host of radio's Legally Speaking show. Come to my seminar and I'll teach you what you need to know about wills, trusts, taxes, probate, how to keep your money in your family. Register now at MikeCollins.com and I'll even waive the tuition. That's MikeCollins.com.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell everybody about our newest restaurant over off New York Avenue. It's called Ivy City Smokehouse, 1356 Oakey Street Northeast, right next to the Heck Company warehouse. It is terrific, and we have the only seafood smoker in the District of Columbia. So when you go to your grocery stores or your delis, ask for Ivy City products. 202-529-3300 or ivycitysmokehouse.com.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
This is Andy Ockershausen and Chris Broullire, and I'm now going to switch to Chris's present life, or present lives to me. He's Mr. Charity. He worked for MS Society. I know what that is, the National MS. I did some promotions with you. I know what that is. But for the life of me, Alzheimer's Association was a new word till I found out about you being there and you being CEO. And why do I get confused between Alzheimer's and what is the other big charity, Jenny?
Dementia.
Dementia.
Right.
I'm confused. Maybe I have dementia, but
you don't have dementia.
I hear them both, and are they the same?
Yeah, they're not exactly the same. Dementia is kind of the umbrella word for all dementias. Lealzheimer's is one of the dementias. So as different diseases affect different parts of the brain, so you have frontal temporal dementia, you have Lewy body disease, you have Alzheimer's, different parts of the brain are affected, and so they have different names of different diseases, but they're all called dementia. And we use Alzheimer's as kind of a shorthand for dementia. But we work to fund research for a cure for all dementias, including Alzheimer's.
Well, this is... for Our Town, it's the great. How big is your territory? I know you're in this number of states that we are.
Right. It's pretty much the same as the broadcast signal. It's Gaithersburg to Fredericksburg, and it's Winchester to Solomon's Island. And
well, is that? Do we have? I knew your MS work.
Yeah.
Is an MS somewhat brain related also?
It is. It's a neurological disease, but it's a different kind of disease.
Well, you were very successful. How long? 8 years with them?
8 years at the MS Society, yeah. But I came over to Alzheimer's because my mother-in-law had Alzheimer's. And so it's personal. And it's a very, very similar job. So I'm the chapter president, so I manage a staff of about 25 people and raise money. But it's personal for me because my mother-in-law, so Annie's mother, insisted on living by herself. And we found her an apartment near Montgomery Mall. And we'd check on her twice a day. But she wanted to live by herself, didn't want to live in a home.
I hear that frequently, but go ahead.
So we went in to check on her at 6 o'clock one night, and she was gone and her car was gone. So we drove all over Bethesda trying to find Mom. And we couldn't find her and called the police. They put a bulletin out to find Mrs. Russell. And so my wife got a call in the middle of the night, and what had happened was she was driving up and down Connecticut Avenue, and there's a traffic light at Porter Street and Connecticut Avenue. And there's a firehouse right there by the traffic light on Porter Street. So she had stopped at the
Chinese restaurant there, too.
Yeah, it's a good restaurant. She stopped at the traffic light, and it turned green, it turned red, it turned green, it turned red, and she forgot how to drive in the middle of the night. So a fireman comes out of the house right there on Porter Street and goes, "Lady, are you all right?" Put it all together, called the police. My wife gets a call at 3 o'clock in the morning. "We found your mother." So then she was diagnosed officially. We should have seen it coming, because what happens is she would drive to our house, which is very near her condo, and she couldn't find her way home. So she would park in our driveway, which is 2 miles from her house, and she would start to cry because she couldn't find her way home. So my wife would get in the car and then, try to lead her back to her own home. We should have seen it coming, but I think now there's a lot more awareness of people with dementia.
This is where you come in and your society comes in, correct?
Yeah.
Awareness.
Yeah. So what we should have done at that time, and we didn't know enough, is we have a terrific website, alz.org. Anything you want to know about Alzheimer's or dementia is available on alz.org. We also have an 800 hotline. It's 800-272-3900. So if people have any questions about Alzheimer's or dementia, or I think Mom is acting differently now, or what do I do? So if they've got legal questions, they got medical, insurance questions. Yeah, it really is. And so we, where do I put Mom? What's the senior living home that I can find for Mom? All of that, we have a helpline, and that's just one of the things that we do 24/7. That we can put people on the right course to get some help. We didn't know that. This was some years ago.
What kind of number do you think you're working with that you're aware of?
Yeah. Well, with people who have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it's at least 5 million people. And then they say that for every person with dementia, there's 3 people that give care to that person. And 2/3 of the people with Alzheimer's are women, and most of the caregivers are women. So they say for every person that has Alzheimer's, there's 3 caregivers. So there's 15 million people, and if you know anybody that's been a caregiver, man, that's a full-time job. You got your hands full working with and helping somebody who has Alzheimer's.
Well, we went through that partially with Janice's dad about doing things out of the ordinary, like taking a drive and so forth, that were unspecified, and finally he had to get assisted living because he couldn't stay there anymore.
Well, a lot of people are wanderers, so sometimes they'll just walk out the front door and just
I hear about that all the time.
And there's a lady in Burke, Virginia that just died over the winter that because she wandered and just
into the bushes,
fell into the lake. So, but you can wander outside on foot, or you can get in a car and wander. So it's pretty scary.
But there's a duration of maybe 14 years sometimes between the first signs of it and then when
there can be. I mean, if you've got a qualified physician that they can diagnose. There's a bulletin that we put out called Know the 10 Signs, and there are certain things that you can look for, and a physician is really the person to diagnose somebody officially. If anybody thinks that there's an issue, they should go see a neurologist and ask about it.
Get some proof. Why is it there are more women than men?
It's just that's what we're trying to find out. That's part of the research. Is it hormonal? Is it because women live longer? And the biggest risk factor in getting Alzheimer's is older age. So as we all get older, us baby boomers become, older. There's a bigger risk factor.
It's true.
And so women have more of that risk factor. So there's all kinds of theories about why is it more women, but that's one of the things we're studying.
Well, you've got such an enormous problem here, or the society has it. How do you handle that with your fundraising?
Yeah.
Because it comes down to getting support.
Yeah. It starts with, so there's more awareness now than ever. There more people than ever understand that what Alzheimer's is or dementias, and what can they do about it? The
And
Congress,
that's your research project.
yeah. So we fund research ourselves. The Alzheimer's Association funds millions of dollars in research, but we also, most of the funding comes through the federal government. So
Okay.
it is bipartisan because everybody understands it's Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. Everybody can get Alzheimer's. And if we don't fund it now, if we don't find a cure soon, in 30 years, Medicare will be overwhelmed. Just imagine the expense for Medicare if all those people get to be that age and then develop Alzheimer's. So
People are living longer, no question
yes,
about that.
yeah, that's right.
Society.
And are
Health.
active longer too, and smarter longer.
That's true.
But so we're hoping that the Congress will approve and the president will sign $1.4 billion research funding for Alzheimer's and other diseases too. But
Neurological.
yeah, and all cancer and heart
Right.
disease and Alzheimer's is all included. But it comes through NIH, and if we do get the funding, we think that we can find a cure soon. Within a few. I'm not going to pick a date, but within a few years.
I just, Jenny, what is that? That's your alz.org?
That's the website, and that's the national website. So anybody,
But then they'll get down to local.
it can
through that.
you start with alz.org, and then you pick the town where you live. So if you live in the Washington area, you choose our chapter,
Okay.
and then you can connect directly with somebody here at our helpline.
Well, if you're a minimal degree successful in this job as you are in broadcast, you'll raise a lot of money. I know that, Chris, because you begin to sell when people tell you no. If you work for Winks, you know what a bitch it is to sell.
Well,
it's not easy.
Well, it's funny.
And you're selling a product, and it's not easy because people don't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, but I also find that people in this town are very generous.
Absolutely,
in
I agree
Washington,
wholeheartedly.
They are very generous, and they want to do the right thing. And our only, we have to find people that are connected to Alzheimer's because there are a lot of great causes, heart disease and cancer and kidney and all of the great causes. But if someone has Alzheimer's in their family, they're going to be likely to connect with us.
It's sort of a hidden disease, too, is it not?
It can be. It
I
can
mean,
be.
I know when people have something wrong with them and they limp.
Yeah.
But Alzheimer's, you can't say they have Alzheimer's.
Well, it wasn't
Dementia.
that long ago. It wasn't that long ago because if you'd say, well, what's wrong with Dad? Oh, he's just getting senile. Or hardening of the arteries, or
old age.
Or it's just getting
Excuse.
old. So people didn't understand what that was, and so now people are becoming aware that it really is dementia and Alzheimer's, and so there is something that people can do about it.
Well, Chris, I know you're going to be successful. You already have done it, and any help we can give you. And thank you so much for giving us this great opportunity with a podcast. As I told, this is going to be up in stratosphere forever. Tell your friends. They tune us in to OurTownDC.com. It'll always be there.
Great. ALZ.org. Thank you. Thanks for the chance, Andy.
Chris, this has been a great, great conversation. Good luck to you, and it's too bad Malloy let you go.
You've been listening to Our Town, Season 2, presented by Geico, our hometown favorite, with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. Drop us a line with your comments or suggestions. See us on Facebook or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to Ken Hunter, our technical director, and WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcast. And thanks to Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.